How's it going, everyone? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the debut album from the band Genocaust, entitled The End of All Things. This is released on Ossuary Industries. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they're based out of Tucson, Arizona, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be pure, plain and simple, brutal death metal. Brutal death metal with some elements of death grind and a little bit of tech death thrown in there too. I mean, if you're into stuff like, let's say, maybe Cephalic Carnage or Origin or Disgorge USA, you probably will pick up those vibes when you listen to this band. They came out with a couple of demos. Uh, I want to say they came out with 3 different demos. They did a demo of the same name as their debut. Then a couple of years ago, they did another demo, and then finally they came out with this debut. This band's been around for quite a while, but really they've just been patiently taking their time getting the debut up and running. It's 9 tracks, and it runs about 30 minutes in length. Rounds out to about 30 minutes in length, so really it's your usual standard album length for a brutal death metal album. I mean, it's short, sweet, and to the point. Guitar-wise, very, very riff-heavy, but there's a lot of solid technicality when it comes to the riffs. I mean, it's nothing too crazy or over the top, but just the way the guitar sounds, the way that it's toned, and the way that it's played, I think it's really, really unique and superb. I'm really loving the tenacity in the guitar play. It's really, really awesome. Bass-wise, it's a very, very solid bass tone. I'm loving the way that it sounds. It's very, very audible when it needs to be, preferably on the title track of this album. It just has that really low, dingy kind of quality to it. I think it sounds really, really badass, and I'm just loving the way that the bass tone is throughout this album. It shows up when it needs to, and I think it works. Drums. This is where more of the technicality comes in when it comes to the drums, because the drums are all over the place. I mean, you're going to get a little bit of everything. You're going to get your heavy sounding snare drum, fast double bass, blast beats left and right, just the way the cymbals are crashed, the way that the toms sound. I mean, it's a very, very solid drum performance. It is frenetic and all over the place. I don't know how some others may feel about it, but really, I think it works very, very well. I'm loving the way that the drums sound. It's just very, very badass. And the vocals range from your ultra guttural, undecipherable low to some really, really solid mid-range growls to some really understandable vocals. I mean, if I'm being honest, some of the lows here sort of remind me of Lividity, the Age of Clitoral Decay era Lividity. I'm really getting that vibe when I listen to the vocals, and just the way that the high gutturals sound. They just sound absolutely disgusting. Um, but yeah, I'm loving the vocals. I'm loving the lyrics. I'm loving the really just aura and vibe surrounding the thoughts of this album. I mean, it's nothing we haven't heard before, but really, it's just done terrifically. I'm really, really loving the way that the feeling and vibe is on this album. And if I'm not mistaken, they just recently added Dorian from Noisier to the band for some guitar work, and I think that's going to be a pretty badass element to this band. Um, Hopefully that'll work out really well. So overall, this is a very, very impressive debut album, and brutal death metal has another band to have its eye on at the moment, and that band is definitely Genocaust. So definitely give it a shot if you're into brutal death metal, or brutal death metal that has a lot of differing elements like tech death and death grind. This is probably something you should be checking out and be interested in. So out of the 9 tracks, some of my favorites include the opening track, Hill of the Skull, Benign, Dark Matter, some really, really sick drums going on that song, and Prelude to War. Some really, really badass tracks. So I'm going to show you the album again. This is The End of All Things by Genocaust. This is released on Ossuary Industries. Go pick this up, and this gets an 8.5 out of 10. Very, very solid debut, and I look forward to hearing more good stuff from them in the future. So check out Genocaust. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until the next time, Miho out.